Armstrong Williams on the right side. Don't curse, speak English. Virtuous society. I dare you to listen. Hey, turn it up. Hey. Get on the right side. Elevate your mind. I'm Armstrong Williams on the right side.
Yo, man, it's your boy KO. And you're tuned in to the most conservative of our brothers.
The Armstrong Williams Show. Please give me a break. Grow up.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Armstrong Williams Show. Thank you so much for joining us. We're live. Donald Watkins is our guest. Donald, how are you today?
New Year to you. This is the first time I talked to you this year. So Happy New Year to you on January 30th.
This year, it's been ages since I talked to you, Mr. Watkins.
Well, it seems like it was more recent than it has been, Armstrong. I miss talking to you.
Well, you know, I know what it's like with you big CEOs. You know, one of the things I actually saved this topic for you because I've not had this discussion. You know, it's interesting. It is about the Buffett rule. We keep hearing much about the Buffett rule, as you know, as the president described it in his State of the Union, and certainly as Mr. Buffett described it, is a principle that will guide the president's approach to tax reform. And that principle, Donna, is simply that it's not in an environment like the one we live in where we have important investments that we need to pay for, whether it's national security, or investments in education, innovation. Everyone needs to pay their fair share. And it's not fair to, in their mind, to have a tax code that, because of loopholes and other things within it, where you have millionaires and billionaires paying lower effective tax rate than some sizable number of middle-class Americans. Tell us the facts and the fiction about this.
Well, fact number one is that the American tax code, the IRS tax code, as we know it, throughout the decades has always been shaped in favor of the super rich to benefit them. Those are the people who have had access to the halls of power in Washington, D.C., and in our state capitals. And so they had the ear of politicians, and they made sure that the tax code was crafted to benefit them primarily. And the rest of us are an afterthought. And so when you look at what changes can be made, you know, it's one thing to look at it on a provision-by-provision basis, but the fundamental concept must be looked at. And we need to make a fundamental decision, because all of us are working people, or most of us are, and so we all should pay our fair share, whether you're rich, whether you're super rich, whether you're working class, or whether you're barely making it and working poor. And so if we make the fundamental decision that all of us should pay our fair share, then we will have to make a dramatic shift in the existing tax code, because it's out of whack right now. We all know it. And I'm strong beyond that. If you just look at the everyday fight you see in the political arena in Washington. You got if you look at the 1% versus the 99% of the population, the people in elected office, by and large, are fighting for the protection of the 1%. And these are the very people, you know, in the 1% who don't need any political help, who don't need any additional tax breaks. They're doing just fine with bank loans, health care, education, and other quality of life issues. So Armstrong, I don't know why elected officials are so hell-bent on protecting the 1%. And they only give lip service to the 99%. And it is the 99% that needs tax relief. I mean, Armstrong, why should I be able to go to lunch and take Armstrong Williams to lunch, write down that I had a business meeting at lunch, and then whatever the bill is, I keep the receipt, and I go back and put it as part of my itemized business expenses. And then a school teacher goes to lunch, has to eat lunch just like me, and gets no tax break for eating lunch. So why should I get a tax break and the school teacher does not? And I can't get anybody in Congress to tell me why one person's stomach is more important than another person's stomach when we both have to eat lunch.
You know, Donald Watkins is the CEO and founder of Masada Energy. He's a lawyer. He grew up as the fifth of six child of the late Levi Watkins Sr., a longtime president of Alabama State University, and his wife Lillian, a school teacher and homemaker. Early in life, Donald met and married his wife, Deandra. He is now single. They have 4 children. Watkins learned business skills at a young age, working several summers as an apprentice to his grandfather, Adam Watkins, who ran a plumbing business in Clarksville, Tennessee, at the height of segregated life in the South. Watkins, that's where I learned that quality service transcends racial barriers, recalling that his grandfather made house calls to white homeowners during hours when white plumbers is closed for the day. You know, it's fascinating to me, and I do know that the tax system does benefit the haves, and it ensures that the haves pass along wealth for generations to come. So what would be the causal effect if the script flipped and the tax code benefited the 99% that didn't produce and in a way punished the 1% that did?
See, I don't subscribe to that premise. I wouldn't say that the 99% does not produce. The vast majority of that 99% gets up every morning, goes to work. They may not have glamorous jobs, and they may not have fancy titles, but they work just as hard as that 1%. And so I don't think it would flip like that. I really think that the 1% expects to pay more, but they know that the people in Congress don't have the courage to demand that they pay more. And so, it's kind of like you have an obligation to do more. One day that obligation, will have to be met, but you're going to ride the break that you have for as long as you can. And you are right, Armstrong. The tax codes are written in their favor so that they can pass wealth from generation to generation. And then you got a lot of people in the 99% who view their trip or effort to get into the 1% as a roll in the dice, almost like a lottery thing. Hey, I'm not going to rail against it because one day maybe I can get there. When I get there, I want the same benefits that the people who are already there are enjoying. So I personally, you can call it the Buffett rule, the Watkins rule, whatever you want to call it, I believe that everybody should pay their fair share of taxes. We all get the privilege. All Americans get the privilege of being born here, raised here, and taking advantage of all of the benefits and privileges and rights that America provides us. And this is, I travel all over the world. I work in 42 countries. This is the greatest country on the planet, and it is nothing wrong, nothing at all wrong with paying our fair share of taxes, and we should do it. We should be proud to be Americans. We are so blessed to be Americans, and a lot of times we just take it for granted, Armstrong, and you travel a lot too, so you know what I'm talking about. And you have to pay a price, a monetary price, to enjoy the freedoms and benefits that this country offers, and we should gladly pay it.
Someone just communicated on our live stream podcast. They said the funny thing is when they do take more from the 1% versus the 90. Take one from the 1%, the 99% will still be in the same situation.
Look, paying your taxes is not some guarantee that you're going to elevate your status in life if you're in the 99%. So the tax dollars are not a redistribution of wealth and piped over to the 99%. That's not what it's about. It's about everybody should have the same tax burden, period. You shouldn't get a break because of your socioeconomic status in life. And if you want to know what people really do with your tax dollars, Armstrong, and this is a slightly different twist on your question, look at the Wall Street bankers. When they ran the U.S. economy and almost the global economy into the ground, when they ran it into the ground in 2008, choking us to death, institutions collapsing, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mae, AIG, all of them were collapsing, General Motors, Ford, all of them on the verge of going into bankruptcy. What did we do? We gave them tax money. These are the richest of the rich now. They went and got working class people's tax money, sent it over to the big bankers on Wall Street, And what did the big bankers on Wall Street do with it? You know, the justification for sending it over was, we'll take the average American's money, send it to the rich people, and they will put it on the street as loans, and it will help jumpstart the economy. Well, we all know now that they didn't make any loans. What they did was they awarded themselves nice, fat, juicy bonuses. And so if anybody benefits in a wrong kind of way, in a disproportionate kind of way, it's always the 1%. It is rarely. You can't name me a big break that working class, middle class Americans got that really hurt the 1%.
You know what? Let me just take another tack at this before we go to break, to give you something to think about. You know, maybe what could be a form of advocacy is a progressive consumption tax that would eliminate taxes on savings and investment. Rich spendthrifts who spend every dollar they have in the present will wind up paying taxes on their total income as per usual. Rich penny pinchers who use their hard-earned money to help grow new business will only pay taxes on what they actually spend. This could mean that a penny pinching millionaire household will pay a smaller share of its income in taxes than a middle-income household in some years, thus violating the Buffett rule. I want to talk about this more when we come back. I'm Armstrong Williams. Donald Watkins is our guest for the full hour. We'll be back.
Armstrong Williams returns in a moment.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933. Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Travelers along the road of life who have fallen asleep at the wheel, to the many who woke up in time to avert disaster and get back on the righteous path. For the ones who crashed and survived and now adhere vigilantly to a virtuous and righteous path. Finally, Armstrong Williams' much-anticipated new book, Reawakening Virtues, gives his insights into these daily challenges and much more. Reawakening Virtues is available in bookstores and at Amazon.com. For more information on The Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Amanda, age 3. Carlos, age 9.
An abducted child is everyone's child.
Jada, age 14.
To get free Amber Alerts on your cell phone, go to wirelesamberalerts.org. A child is calling for help. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
If you have a question or comment for today's Armstrong Williams Show, call 733-5620. That's 733-5620. Call and be a part of today's Armstrong Williams Show on 620 AM, where knowledge is power.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
And welcome back to the Armstrong Williams Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Donald Watkins, who's over Masada Energy, is our guest. And I was talking about a progressive tax, and I was saying that a penny pinching millionaire household would pay a smaller share of its income in taxes than a middle income household in some years, thus violating the Buffett rule. But when those rich penny pinchers decide to spend down their savings and live the high life, say in retirement, they will wind up paying as much or even a bigger share. So the Buffett rule, Donald, presents a huge roadblock to this kind of pro-growth tax reform, and that will leave us, in the end, much worse off.
I understand the point you're trying to make. I just disagree with it. I think if you look at our tax structure, and you can't just look at the federal part, you got to look at the state part too. When you talk about a consumption tax, we already have consumption taxes generally at the state level and generally as it applies to goods and services, food, gasoline, all kinds of our everyday needs. We're paying, if you buy a loaf of bread, if you go in and buy some clothes for your kids, you're already paying a consumption tax. They call it a sales tax, and you pay it based on how much you spend. So that applies to all of us. So you can be working poor, you can be super rich, you're going to pay sales tax on items. And so what Buffett and the administration are focusing our attention on is the equity and the income tax part of it. That's the front end. Okay, when you make the money, all of us paying the same taxes on the money generation? And the answer is no. So we all know the answer is no. And then the other discussion is, should we be? And some people say yes, and some people say no. I'm in the yes category. We all should have the same burden. And people justify the avoidance of that burden with all kind of scenarios, such as the one you just gave. And I think that the examples that you just highlighted, Armstrong, that's a small fraction of the super rich who would do that. So it's not going to throw anything out of whack. And I think for the solid financial future of our nation, and we must have a viable middle class and working class. And in order to be viable, one of the main ingredients to that is to have a fair income tax system, because that's federal. That's nationwide, because, all states don't have an income tax. Florida doesn't have one. So I think if we achieve that, and it's so hard because of the factions in Congress, if we achieve that, it is in our best interest to do that. We will stabilize the erosion in the middle class, because we all know there's an erosion going on in the middle class. Not as many people have middle class incomes as they did 20 and 30 years ago. And we have to stop that, because if we don't stop that, then we descend into a society where you have the super rich and working poor.
Well, are you saying then are entitlement and opportunity mutually exclusive?
I don't.
I mean, to effective government.
Oh no! Look, whether you pay $2 in taxes or whether you're paying $2 million in taxes, your entitlement to governmental services is across the board and should be socioeconomic neutral. Should be neutral in every way, and that is, that's the whole concept of a national or a central government and our state government. So I don't think they are mutually exclusive, Antoine. I really don't see that as mutually exclusive. We are entitled to certain basic governmental services at the national level. It's defense, it's a host of other things, but I'm asking you, pay for that.
I'm asking you a different kind of question based on what you're saying. So which is the holy grail, entitlements or opportunity?
Opportunity is the lifeline for any society. Opportunity to produce income, opportunity to produce wealth. It's the lifeblood. I mean, it's the motivator. It's why everybody goes to work, whether you're making minimum wage or whether you're making a lot of money. And so it is the lifeblood. It would come first, because without opportunity, you're not going to produce anything. You won't have an entitlement to anything.
I think it's, I'm glad we're having this conversation with Donald Watkins. I think it is unfortunate for the future of America that neither any of these candidates, including the president, will have the courage to argue that entitlement and opportunity are not mutually exclusive and that both are needed to create an environment for sound economic growth. So the debate should center on specific steps to be taken in order to balance entitlement and opportunity in a way that would assure broad-based, equitable success. After all, when the history of American economic growth is examined, it is obvious that the most significant and broad-based growth has been achieved when entitlements and opportunity are balanced, and likewise, when government is candid in either the direction of entitlement or opportunity, growth has become unbalanced and stunted.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. When the two go hand in hand, they're not mutually exclusive, and when they are in balance, and you have to work at both to put them in balance. When they're in balance, those have been the greatest periods of this country's history. And we must get back to that. And I'm glad you mentioned about the candidates. We don't have much on the Democratic side yet because Obama is running unopposed. But I've been watching these debates, Armstrong, and I don't know if you want to talk about it. I just got a lot of stuff on my mind. I've been watching the debates over on the Republican side because I'm trying to learn from everybody. And it seems like all they have done is formed a firing squad in circle formation. They're just shooting each other. I keep listening to see what are the solutions. I don't want to hear about what you think of another candidate. Just tell me what solutions you have, because we all are intelligent out here. We can decide and make up our minds on what a solution is and whether it's a viable one and an effective one. But I'll be so glad when we get through the primary season so we can actually get down to just listening to what are the different solutions being offered by the last two candidates standing, the nominee for the Republican Party and the nominee for the Democratic Party.
I think this is something that you can attest to. I think one of the largest government entitlement programs started with the implementation of the Servicemen's Readjustment Act, referred to as the GI Bill, which I think passed in 1944 and still is in effect today. And I don't think we look at this enough because the program entitled veterans to receive government grants for college and vocational education. It also provided many different types of loans for returning veterans to buy homes and start businesses and farms. And so during those ensuing years, the program has come to include other veteran benefit programs created to assist veterans of subsequent wars as well as peacetime service. So the point is what I'm making the point is that the reality is that the entitlements of the GI Bill stimulated the economy after World War II.
Correct.
And created opportunity for hundreds of thousands of veterans to receive a college education, buy a home, and start a business. And who among us does not have a grandfather, father, even ourselves, who have benefited from this entitlement program?
Correct.
That was a good program.
You're absolutely correct. It's a good program, and actually, it is what you do for people when they have gone across an ocean, put their lives on the line in the defense of this nation, in the defense of our freedom. And so you're right. It is an entitlement program, and it's a sacred entitlement program, and it should be, because people have paid the price for that in blood by wearing the uniform and by protecting this nation. And so, we have crafted in the history of this country some very good entitlement programs that have stood the test of time. Yes, they can always be improved on, tweaked, made better. Any program can. Even the best one can. But it has had a positive effect. The one you just mentioned, the whole range of GI.
But it's an earned, as our person on our webcam is saying, it's an earned entitlement program.
Correct. That's a good description for it.
Yes.
I hadn't thought of it in that way, but that's a very good description for it. An earned entitlement program, paid for, and you go do the service on the front end, you get the benefits on the back.
Yes. And because what you do, you don't weaken a person's skills and the gifts and what you become in challenges. You encourage them to go through that. You don't diminish them. And in the end, it rewards and elevates them once they get through the program.
That is correct. No question about it. And I don't have any problem about that.
And what we're doing today with entitlement is that sometimes people don't work. The government becomes all things to them, and that is the problem.
I agree. I mean, I agree that we have to take a hard look and retool entitlement programs that have a counter. I don't want to call it a benefit, but a detrimental downside to it that encourage people not to work. You can get a check if you don't work, just because you don't feel like going or trying and all that kind of stuff. And it's more important that we do it now because times are tough now. You got a lot of people who do get up when they don't want to get up, they don't feel well, they go to work, they are not working for big paychecks, and they work very hard at the job. And so for somebody to have an automatic entitlement just because you were born in America, you haven't lifted a finger, and you go down and you want to check, no. That day, we got to reform that day.
Our guest is Donald Watkins. As we go to the break and switch reels to another conversation, the next time some pandering politician suggests that our choice in government is one of either entitlement or opportunity, know that this person doesn't clearly not understand how government has worked most effectively in the past, or that they are being blatantly disingenuous and dishonest. Either our options always appear simple and clean on the surface, but the reality is that life and the function of government is much more complex. The American government has always been most effective when it has carefully balanced the entitlements of its citizens with the opportunity of economic achievement. It is this philosophy that enabled America to achieve the longevity and success it has as a nation, and it is the notion that will continue to do so in the future. But we've got to get back to those basic principles. We must return to those. I'm Armstrong Williams. Our phone lines are open, 733-5620, 1-866-620-6620. Donald Watkins was elected to one term on the Montgomery City Council, and while there frequently clashed with the city's conservative Republican mayor, Watkins left the council in 1983 and told him that it was one of the greatest blessings since the Yankee troops went home in 1870. Ironically, they later hired him to represent the city. I'm Armstrong Williams. We're talking to the fascinating Donald Watkins. We'll be back.
Armstrong Williams returns in a moment.
High Point University has experienced unprecedented growth during the worst economic disruption in decades. This growth is driven by a university that focuses on holistic education, on experiential learning, and on values-based living. At High Point University, every student receives an extraordinary education in an inspiring environment with caring people. See what makes High Point University extraordinary at highpoint.edu.
Can you tell if the surfaces in this kitchen are crawling with bacteria that could cause chronic arthritis? Listen.
So what were you saying about the light? We need another light? You just need to call man.
Can you? You can't see it either. Wash surfaces, utensils, and hands frequently with soapy water while preparing food, especially when handling raw meats or eggs. Raw food may contain bacteria that can make you very sick, or worse.
Me.
1 in 6 Americans will get sick from food poisoning this year, and roughly 3,000 will die. But you can keep your family safer by cleaning with soap and water as you go.
For the new phone.
Learn more about this and other important information. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov. That's foodsafety.gov. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Teach me another one, Dad.
Because I can wait as long as I want.
A chick in a car and a car won't go?
Yeah, I'm going to wait for that.
That's the way to spell Chicago.
Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
If you have a question or comment for today's Armstrong Williams Show, call 733-5620. That's 733-5620. Call and be a part of today's Armstrong Williams Show on 620 AM, where knowledge is power.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
And welcome back to the Armstrong Williams Show. And callers, I apologize. I just became so engrossed in the conversation with Dr. Watkins that I didn't even see the callers on the screen. So call back and I promise we'll get to you. Watkins serves on the board of directors of State Mutual Insurance Company in Rome, Georgia. He is also a life member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. So, Donald, what are the issues that you're passionate about today that keeps you on the move and gives you continued hope for the future economics of this country?
Yeah, let me mention a couple of hot button things with me, Armstrong, that really get my blood boiling. You know, I'm out here in the commercial world all day long, so I see workers all day long, people working real hard. That's all I see. I see people working. And so I don't understand that I know we're in a tough economy right now. It's still sluggish and still fragile. I understand that. But what galls me, Armstrong, is I don't know why working class Americans who go in, for example, to refinance their mortgages, or who are upside down in their mortgages, and who want to take advantage of the Mortgage Debt Relief Act, are having such a hard time from the very bankers who took our taxpayers' money. I don't understand that. And nobody seems to have the courage to do anything about it. Everybody will give lip service to it and say, oh, yeah, we're for, helping people out who are having problems with their mortgage. But when the rubber hits the road, you can't find anybody who will put their foot, down and make these people who took our money. They took taxpayers' money, your money, my money, everybody's money, and took it when it benefited them, but won't put it out on the street to working class people who need it. That's one thing that galls me. Then the second thing that I can't understand for the life of me, and Armstrong, I got a banking background, I got a legal background, I got a business background. What I cannot understand, and nobody, I've been to Washington trying to get the answer to this question, and nobody will answer it for me. Why is it that when you had all of the big Wall Street bankers almost brought the world's economy to a collapse, and in fact they coined it the Great Recession of 2008, why is it when you have that kind of destruction and devastation in the financial system, not one CEO or CFO of a big bank in Wall Street has been criminally prosecuted? How can you have financial institutions that almost bring the world's economy down through financial crimes and other bad practices, and nobody gets charged? And I don't understand what the Justice Department is doing in that regard.
But you do understand. But you do know the answer to those questions that you raised. You know exactly why.
No, I don't. Armstrong, every time I turn around, they got a press conference to announce they're handing out another non-prosecution agreement, like the one they gave to UBS and a couple of more of the big banks.
Because they're giving the impression that they're cracking down on this crime, and
how can you crack down?
And hoping that the American people will forget the press conference.
You agree on the front end that I'm not going to prosecute you for bribery. I'm not going to prosecute you for bid rigging.
But it doesn't happen.
I'm not going to prosecute you for antitrust behavior. How is that cracking down on crime?
Because they're not. It's all symbolism. That's all it is. There's no teeth to it.
Well, I don't understand. Well, listen, but they'll go after some little city councilman or county commissioner who took the bribe from the Wall Street banker, but they won't go after the banker.
Isn't that amazing?
I think it's unfair. I think it demonstrates a level of weakness I've never seen, and it makes it hard to sit there and stomach a dual standard of justice. There's one standard for working class people and average Americans, and then if you can be a bourbon sipping, martini dripping, cigar smoking Wall Street banker, nothing happens to you. All you do is take taxpayers' money and give yourself a bonus.
And then you go out and do worse because you think you're beyond reproach.
I don't understand it. And one day somebody, I'm waiting on the right politician to get in my face, with a campaign slogan so I can ask that question while I'm shaking his hand. But I don't understand it. I don't understand the dual system. I don't understand why you're afraid to prosecute a Wall Street CEO. I just don't understand. You cannot tell me as a lawyer. See, I got a legal background. You can go give a political speech and say you can't find, the evidence of the crime and all that kind of stuff. But don't come in my face and tell me that, because I know it is not possible to bring down a complete economy unless somebody committed criminal conduct. I know that. And don't talk to me about Nigerian scams anymore. How everybody gets in your face and say they got an email or letter from Nigeria? If you added up every email and letter that came from Nigeria on some scam, the money wouldn't hold a drop compared to the scam that was perpetrated on the American people by the Wall Street big banks. They almost took us down, and that scares me. That's too big to fail. That's what they said it was. And all we've done, Armstrong, I think all we've done is created some modern-day untouchables.
Well, one of our callers want to know, based on what you're saying, and they're enjoying what you're saying, you must have serious issues with the Congress legal insider trading.
I do. And they had an act. What was the act called? It was like to ban that kind of insider trading. And I have a problem with anybody who sits there in a fiduciary relationship, gets confidential information, and takes it and uses it for their own enrichment. Yeah, you can be a congressman, you can be somebody else. I have a problem with that. And nobody's trying to regulate that. In fact, the body that would regulate it is Congress itself. So that's not going to happen. That would be as likely to happen as them giving up their health care benefits, which we know that ain't going to happen. So, I do have a problem with that. I just have a problem with people who are self-serving in that way while proclaiming to serve the public.
I think there's a deeper issue that you're really scratching the surface on that I think none of us talk about enough, and that is where money and power intersect, there's corruption. No different
and
than
greed and kleptocracy, all of that. That's correct.
There's a reason why John Corzine would probably get a slap on the wrist, is that what people should begin to realize is that running for office, whether it's on the local or the national level, is a business. You have people who invest in your business, they expect returns. And when they invest in your business and you win as a politician, they expect certain legislation to be enacted, whether it's in the best interest of the American people or not. They want to continue their lush life of wealth. They want to skirt the rules. They don't want the rules to apply to them because it is, when you look at, and it's something I agree with Warren Buffett and Henry Kravitz on, it is outrageous that Wall Street can exempt itself from rules when they are money managers and they actually get 2% of what they manage and 20% on the returns, and that is not treated as income. It is treated as something totally different, and they're only taxed at a rate of 14 and 15%. I can't blame the Romneys and others of the world. It's just a law that they put in place with Wall Street. So obviously it's corrupt, and it comes back and bite us, and what it does, it ultimately corrupts the system, and there's a tremendous fallout of it. Decades, look at what happened when they went back in and repealed Glass-Steagall. Look at the fallout from that. Look at Dodd-Frank. What a nightmare.
It is.
It did more harm than good. And yet when they were touting Dodd-Frank was supposed to be the best thing in the world for campaign finance reform, and look at what it has done. And they knew it all along exactly what the outcome would be.
I agree. I agree that political power in Washington, for the most part, is held with almost a death grip by the rich and powerful banking community. I agree with that, man. I'm over in the banking community. I see from the inside what it is like and who's doing what and all that. And there, there's a separate class up there, man. If what you call international, global, too big to fail company, you can do what you want to do. You don't even have to have the law turn in your direction. You can just say, I'm just going to do it anyway because I know I'm too big and they can't do nothing to me. And if you look around, Armstrong, they're right.
Oh, wait a minute.
Nobody's going to do anything to them.
Donald, it may imply that they have too many goods on them. They can't take them to task.
Well, I have my personal opinions. Let me tell you what my opinions are. I think that sometimes people soft pedal their approach to these institutional giants because they know that the position they have in Washington is just a manager's job. It may last 4 years. If the president gets reelected, it may last another 4 years. And when the 4-year term is up, they got to go somewhere and find a job. And so I think it's easy for people to, go trot on up to Wall Street and say, you remember when you had some issues and I gave you the benefit of the doubt. I'm wondering, can you help me now? And I think you get a lot of that back scratching going on in Washington. And I think that's why, there's not a whole lot of accountability for the wrongdoing that this class of institutions engage in.
Jacob, you have a comment with Donald Watkins. Thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
The problem that I have with Congress is that you have two types of people running for elective office. One, you have the lifers who want to go into Congress and stay there 20, 30 years and get all the power that they can and all the access that they can. And then you have the other types who go into Congress to basically network and to pad their resumes and make connections so when they get out of Congress, they can get these six-figure lobbying jobs or consulting jobs or, in Newt Gingrich's case, historian jobs where they can, you know, get into the private sector without starting at the bottom up like most of us have to do. And nobody's there to be a trustee for the welfare of the nation anymore. It's all about money, how much money I can get from so-and-so, or how much, I mean, what kind of job I can get when I get out of Congress. And, you know, what we the people need to do, you know, the 99%ers, the Tea Partiers can all agree on this, is that we got to put a law out there, get a constitutional amendment that says no congressman or senator can profit in any way from any company, any firm, or by any law
Jacob,
that
just hold your line of thinking. It's very important. I think many of us are on the same page. Donald Watkins is our guest. Jacob is on the line. We're going to come back. The phone lines are definitely open. 1-866-620-6620 and 733-5620. We'll be back.
Armstrong Williams returns in a moment.
The Armstrong Williams Show.
Join us on Tuesdays for the Armstrong Williams Show, where we explore the global economy with guest commentator Terry Giles. That's on Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on WGCV 620 AM.
WGCV, where knowledge is power.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933. Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Travelers along the road of life who have fallen asleep at the wheel, to the many who woke up in time to avert disaster and get back on the righteous path. For the ones who crashed and survived and now adhere vigilantly to a virtuous and righteous path. Finally, Armstrong Williams' much-anticipated new book, Reawakening Virtues, gives his insights into these daily challenges and much more. Reawakening Virtues is available in bookstores and at Amazon.com. For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
My name is Tom.
My name is Cindy.
We give to and volunteer with United Way at our community free health clinic.
We know our time and money are going to the right places.
We don't just wear the shirt.
We live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
If you have a question or comment for today's Armstrong Williams Show, call 733-5620. That's 733-5620. Call and be a part of today's Armstrong Williams Show on 620 AM, where knowledge is power.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
And welcome back to the Armstrong Williams Show. Donald Watkins is our guest. Jacob, continue with your question and comment to Donald. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, all I wanted to say is that, you know, the American people need to put pressure on every congressman when they come home that they don't need to be up there trying to cut deals for themselves. They should be up there looking out for their constituents. And until the American people start paying attention to what's going on, these lobbyists and these congressmen and senators are going to continue to just do whatever they want to do. Whoever can fill up the coffers of their campaigns the highest is the ones they're going to cater to. And it's wrong, and been a law to address it until now. And this is just a token type deal with the law they're trying to pass now about the stock tip thing. But again, it's upsetting to me that 60 Minutes had to expose this for somebody to get any movement on it.
And the other thing, Jacob, is that a lot of the Congress people didn't even know what the bill was, what it was or what it was trying to stop. That's the sad thing about it. That's the sad thing.
Well, the unfortunate thing is that I think they knew exactly what the law was trying to do, and they were playing dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Because these powerful committee members who hear all this information, it's not hard to assume that they don't pass this information on to their friends and their family members, and it's just not fair to the American people.
No, it's not fair. It's not fair.
To find jobs, 40 million people on welfare, and these people are up here, just enriching themselves.
Yes.
I think there was a stat that now 60% of all House and Senate members are millionaires, if I'm correct, and they didn't come in as millionaires.
No, they didn't.
And that's incredible to me, and nobody's paying attention to it. And until somebody pays attention to it, it's going to continue to happen.
But Jacob, look at all the perks they get when they get up there. They don't have to pay for anything.
And that's my thing. They don't even need to go that extra step. I mean, these congressmen, they get the top-level health care for life.
For life.
They get the pensions for life, even if they just do one term.
Mm-hmm.
They get all these perks, and the incentives are supposed to be there so they don't take this money from these corporations and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's just the greed of it. Imagine a job where you only have to be in the job for 4 years or 2 years, and you get free health care for life.
For life, free, and it ain't no regular health care.
It's Cadillac.
It's a Cadillac plan.
It's the Cadillac plan, and they don't pay a dime, not a dime.
Yeah.
We pay for that.
And they still got their hands out, and that's what's so upsetting.
Yeah.
I don't mind the perks if there's a law that says you cannot take a dime other than your congressional salary from anybody, then they can have some perks because that's the trade-off. But they can't have both. They can't be set up for life through the federal government, basically on government welfare for the rest of their lives, and then at the same time take corporate money, and then some of them point their fingers at us and call us losers and tell us that we need to get out there and pull ourselves up by our bootstraps while they're on welfare.
Why do you think it happens so fast? When they campaign and they say they don't need nothing, they're satisfied with the salary and they're against this and that and the other. And the moment they get there, the hand ain't off the Bible good yet. As soon as it comes off the Bible, the hand is outstretched to get some extra benefit.
The hand stays out. It's like it turns over. It comes off the Bible, and then it turns over.
Yes, I agree with you.
And they're walking around looking for somebody to put something in it. And it's incredible to me.
It's crazy.
Jacob, it's always a pleasure to hear your insights, your common sense. You're exactly right. I agree with you. Thank you for calling. Let's go to Sherry, who has a comment. Sherry, you're on with our guest, Donna Watkins. Go ahead.
Great show as always, and it's funny how the Democrats are always say, poor mouthing the Republicans, and I'm not picking sides here, but it's clear it's on both sides. Both parties are guilty of it, but the Democrats bash the Republicans because supposedly they're so rich and have all this, and the Republicans bash the Democrats for them being hypocrites, and they're all hypocrites. They're all doing the same thing. They're taking your money and my money, and it's a wonder that you and I even have jobs because they're trying to put all of us on the welfare dole.
They're all
and just make money more, make more for themselves because they want it. If you've not seen it, you really need to see Company Men. It's a good movie, but it will make your blood pressure just go through the roof because that is the epitome of how all the business people are, regardless of what side of the fence they're on. They're only after what they can put in their pocket and what they can do to help themselves. And if it means cutting people at their business, so be it. And then they'll turn around, and build them this huge building, for this granite, marble, gold, gilded office. But, I don't care that I had to lay 5,000 people off in order to do it. I had to make sure that my bottom line was what I needed it to be. And it's just so crazy. And I have a good friend that always says there was only one letter between green and greed. And it's so obvious of all of our representatives. And the bad thing is we can sit here and talk about this, but I will bet you chicken dinner that when November rolls around, everybody that we're upset with is just going to get reelected because they know their name. If you put Strom Thurmond's name on the ballot and the man's been dead for years, he would get elected. I mean, that's how sad it is. It's all about name recognition. Clyburn needs to be ousted. Wilson needs to be ousted. All of them do. And we just need to start fresh. So, anyway, thanks for listening.
I think
the caller made some good points on Armstrong. Look, I believe in political spankings. I believe that you spank people and you hold them accountable. And you just like our parents did, you lay out a clear agenda for people because they're volunteering to serve in this capacity now. I don't care if you're running for mayor, if you're running for governor, if you're running for president, if you're running for senator, or you're running for Congress. You're volunteering. Nobody's making you do this. And I think we have an obligation as just regular citizens to lay out our agenda, and it's not hard to lay out your agenda to anybody and what your goals and objectives are. And if these people agree that they will advance this agenda and they don't, then we spank them. Just like I know people don't believe in corporal punishment now, but I do. And so I got spanked as a kid. And so we need to do some political spankings, and that's the only way you're gonna get these people's attention because the other folks are handing them out campaign money. They don't have to spank them. They have the carrot. We have to carry the stick.
What we're learning here, and it's pretty simple actually. Mm-hmm. Is that while there are those who are elected to Congress and they're willing to sacrifice all these perks and financial rewards, for the most part, people run for people to make an investment for them to get inside this club where you automatically become rich and elitist. Mm-hmm. And once they get there, that's all they do. They spend their time auctioning off whatever is necessary for people to buy into them, make sure they're reelected, keep the money flowing in, make sure they get the best deals, no matter how bad the legislation may be. I will be your advocate. I get it passed, and what you do is keep affording me the lifestyle that I have. And you know what?
Exactly it is. That's it.
That's what it is. It's a business investment. An investment is not for we the people. It's for their own self-interest.
That's it. That's exactly it.
And unfortunately, that's what's wrong with this country. That's why we can't get anything accomplished. There's so much gridlock. Because on a certain level, they all are the same and they cover for each other. And they'll say to each other, you go against that bill because I can't go against that bill in my district, but you can do it, but you got to make sure it doesn't pass.
That's right. I see that all day long, Armstrong. If you dabble in politics at all, you see it all day long. All day long. They'll tell you, I'm going to kill it, but I'm not going to cast the vote. I'll get one of my friends to cast the vote to kill it. I would have more respect for a person if they just sat and told me, look, I do not agree with you philosophically. I can't support you on that issue, but I can support you on some other issue. So let's find the one I can support you on. But you don't get that. You don't get that. They'll tell you what you want to hear, and then they're still gonna go do what they want to do. And in the final analysis, they're gonna find a way to enrich themselves in the process.
Alan, you're on with Darlene Watkins. Thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Hey, Armstrong. Don't know who you are today, but I wouldn't mind having you back in the future. That's it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I came with my own bucket list, Armstrong, because certain things just tick me off from time to time. Because we got to get government spending under control. Your personal household, you wouldn't be able to operate it if everything in your household operational budget, 40% of that or more is borrowed money. Everybody would shut you down. And so, I'm so scared that what we're doing now is a recipe for disaster. Everybody talks about getting it under control. Nobody does anything to get it under control.
Talk. Bernard, you're on with Donna Watkins. Thank you for calling.
How y'all young men doing?
Fine.
All right. Armstrong, you just motivated me more to do more, to help myself and be about myself. I don't care what nobody say about you. Mm-hmm. You know when right is right and wrong is wrong. You know that, my brother. And I ain't never felt so good to hear you talking on the radio.
I got to keep Donna Watkins on more often. He's hard to get, but I try.
We're just having a good conversation this afternoon.
Oh, it's a good conversation. It's true. It's the truth.
Let me mention one other topic. I'm just touching on it now because I know you ran out of time. But let me mention one other topic. I want to talk about immigration reform. This ain't no policy discussion. I think we have got to stop hating on people. Everybody over here in America is a descendant of an immigrant family. Everybody. Some came voluntarily. Others were brought here in the hellhole of slave ships and as indentured servants. So, this whole immigration reform thing, I just watch all these political debates. It's just hating on people, and it's hating on people by those who claim they're big Christians and they go to church and say they love folks, and they despise the very people who are here working, got families, trying to be in school, trying to better themselves, trying to have an improved quality of life, and we got to stop it. And then watch people that lack the political courage to deal with it head on is just sickening. It's just sickening.
Donald Watkins, you see why you need to do this more, man. You see why people want to hear the truth. They don't care if people hear the truth. They don't care what side of the aisle you on.
I agree with that.
The truth conquers all.
A lot of this ain't got nothing to do with Democrat or Republican.
No,
it's just right and wrong.
Right and wrong. Donald Watkins, thank you. Bernard, thank you. All everybody else for calling in. Donald, we got to do this again soon.
We will, man. Don't be no stranger. Don't be no strangers.
Okay, put it on me. Put it on me. All right, thank you, Donald.
Do your thing. Bye-bye.
That's it from the Armstrong Williams Show. Take care.
Hello, everyone. This is Armstrong Williams on the right side. Don't curse, speak English. Armstrong. Virtuous society. Armstrong. I dare you to listen. Hey, turn it up. Hey. Armstrong. Get on the right side. Armstrong. Elevate your mind. Armstrong. I'm Armstrong Williams on the right side.
Yo, man, it's your boy K.O. And you're tuned in to the most conservative of our brothers.
The Armstrong Williams Show. Please give me